Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Where do the Vikings skill players rank amongst all NFL teams? We're going to find out.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings, proudly a safer driver than Oli Udoh, allegedly.
Hey, this is Arif Hasan with Pro Football Network. I did not know that I'd be doing a podcast with Sam and the lead singer of Nickelback today.
Can we zoom in? Let's zoom in. Zoom in on Luke Braun.
No.
Look at that.
Nope.
Look at that.
Look at that photograph.
This is...
Every time I do it makes me laugh.
Oh, it is making me
Locked
laugh.
On Sports Minnesota podcast. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Pro Football Network's Arif Hasan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talk's Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
It's a brand new week on the Minnesota Football Party here on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Happy Monday. I'm Sam Ekstrom. You can find me on Twitter at Sam Ekstrom, joined as I always am on Mondays by Arif Hasan of Pro Football Network at Arif Hasan NFL, and Luke Braun, Locked On Vikings postcast at Luke Braun NFL. Chad Kruger lookalike Luke Braun joining us today. Guys, looking forward to a good show. We're going to talk Vikings weak links on today's program, and I've got the Bill Barnwell skill position player rankings that we are going to pour over, and I'll have you guess where the Vikings rank. Also, Oli Udoh cited for reckless driving multiple times. We'll discuss the ramifications there and maybe end the show with some party fouls. Today, we are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook partner of Locked On. Make every moment more. Go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And as always, you can find us free and available wherever you get podcasts. We're also on YouTube. We're on the Sirius XM app, Amazon Fire, and Roku as well. Myriad ways to find the program. Guys, have you ever seen the beloved game show, The Weakest Link?
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the old version with Ann Robinson is best because she was the snarkiest. She was British, and it just had a very...
So is there a new version where you don't have like some British person yelling at you?
Actually, yes. The new
Jane
version
Lynch,
is with Jane Lynch.
Oh, that's right. No, I've seen commercials for it.
And Jane Lynch is
different.
very good at being kind of cold and heartless. However, it's just very clearly scripted. Like, all of her remarks definitely came from a writing staff, and it's recorded in a very sterile studio where there's clearly no audience, but they pump in laughs and claps, and like it's kind of sterilized for me. A weakest link, a
connoisseur. Yeah.
Yeah.
A gourmand of the weakest link.
Game show sommelier Sam Ekstrom.
That's me. That's what they call me. Well, we're going to do a little weakest link Vikings edition. I want to go kind of by position group, thinking of starters and key backups. I don't need you to
so people we project to make the roster, right? We're not just going to get rid of some like random second-year undrafted free agent.
Correct. Yeah, let's think 53 man. Let's think guys that are likely to contribute to this team. What are the weakest links? Let's go over it. A couple positions I don't think we need to really delve into. Quarterback probably don't need to delve into, although we could. They are probably keeping all three. So let's just for the sake of completeness, let's go down the line. Quarterback, weakest link. Arif, go.
I'm going to go with Jaren Hall. He hasn't played in the NFL. Nick Mullins, when he has played in the NFL, has actually played fairly well. So our presumption should be that he is an above-average backup. I think it's fair to say that the average fifth-round rookie is not an above-average backup. That's somebody that I think can become good based on what we've seen. But I just think our prior should be that he's not good enough yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that has to be where we're at with Jaren Hall, right? Like, I want to find a reason to say something spicy, and I just kind of can't. Like, it's a very straightfortard room.
Nick Mullins is very good. Like, for the role that he's in. Yeah.
Whoever loses it is the weakest link, and I guess status quo is that's Jaren Hall, and it's on him to change it.
Yeah.
Do the Vikings necessarily have to declare a backup with the new third quarterback rule? If they're all active,
yes,
they do.
Because one is a different kind of active.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on the sheet they hand out at 10:30 a.m.
Right.
If Nick Mullins is QB2, technically Nick Mullins could go in just because they feel like it, because Kirk Cousins threw 5 interceptions and got benched.
But once you bring in,
couldn't do that with QB3. It has to be injury.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Good clarification. I think I'm with you as well. You can't put the 5th round rookie ahead of the veteran backup until proven otherwise. And we've just seen nothing yet from Jaren Hall, even in practice, that would indicate that. All right. Wide receiver, weakest link. I would say that 1 through 4. No, I don't think it's not fair to Naylor. 1 through 3, Jefferson, Addison, Osborne. So basically Addison or Osborne.
Oh, so we're ignoring backups? Yeah. Well, then I'd say probably Osborne. I like him a lot. He's somebody that I talked up a lot last year. I think that he had a better year than a lot of people remember, just because he was never huge in any particular game. He's a really valuable asset, but you got a 1st round pick, even if he is a rookie. I think that the presumption is that he's going to be the starter in 2 receiver sets. And I think that our expectation should be that a 1st round rookie plays better than Osborne did last year, which again is not a knock on how he played last year, but that's just kind of what that investment kind of demands.
Yeah, Braun.
If I have to stick to the top 3, I think I'm going to go just again, like I'm going to default to the rookie until he proves otherwise, even though I fully expect him to. But like in this current moment, present time, I would go with Addison. What if he never gets better? He's hurt the whole time or something. Or what if being injured for OTAs means he doesn't come along and he doesn't have any role until week 8? Then he would be the weakest link, right? Like,
so if they're fully healthy and started a game tomorrow, who would you have as your second receiver?
Osborne. Addison hasn't done anything.
Okay.
Even though like lots of time to do something, and I'm sure we all fully expect him to, he hasn't yet. So I'm going with that. But I kind of want to expand. Can I say Jalen Reagor?
I thought we were going to do the whole receiver group, and I was going to say Jalen Reagor.
So
like,
no, you
in a world where someone gets hurt and he has to go in, I'm extremely concerned about that. Last time that happened, he ran the wrong route twice and caused 2 interceptions.
That's totally fair if you want to go that route. I just didn't want to bury Jaquelin Roy or Asezi Odumewo, just because that's just too low hanging, to say that they're the weakest link. But
right.
Yeah, but no, Reagor probably will play and probably play badly, right?
Like if Reagor has to play,
you're out of here.
And by the way, Reagor making the team far from a guarantee, right?
Right. Yeah.
But if he does have to go in and play, like there's a little bit of bozo stuff there that I'm worried about.
Yeah, and if you're saving that last receiver spot for Powell or Reagor, who do basically the same thing, I've loved Powell way more in the practices I've seen. Like I think that Powell has an edge for sure to win.
Has he gotten more second team reps?
Yes.
Yeah, and I haven't seen any of the practices. I personally would also prefer Powell because my understanding of him as a player is that he just doesn't make as many mental mistakes. And I think the catastrophic nature of Jalen Reagor's mistakes are something that you have to watch out for. And so even if his upside is substantially better, and it probably is, right? Then I would still want to avoid that really low floor, the fact that, he could run a wrong route and something like that. I think that's just less likely with Brandon Powell.
If I'm choosing between Addison or Osborne, I think I would also go Addison like Braun, but, Osborne had kind of a Thielinian year last year. Like he was not very efficient. They had almost identical yards per route run. I liked Osborne more at the end of the season because I thought he was healthier. Yeah. And say that again, Arif?
Sorry, they ranked like 94th and 98th. Like they were identical is.
Yeah, and kind of caught in the wake of a historic Justin Jefferson season too. Like I don't think you can look at that number specifically and circle it and say that that's the smoking gun, I still really like Osborne. And I think Osborne's going to have a good year. He's more durable at this point than Addison because Addison is hurt and Osborne really never has been. So I already like his availability, but Addison clearly has the ceiling. I would put him weakest link right now. Let's go running back.
I guess, can I?
Yes, it's Kenny.
Well, I mean, you could say Dwayne McBride. I think that's, I mean, Luke, you've been talking about putting rookies in a spot where they have to prove themselves first. But I'm going to say Kenny because Dwayne McBride has more running back experience at running back, college and NFL combined. And I like his vision. I like his contact balance. I like his running back skills a lot more. Kenny has done very little as a running back. I like him a lot as a returner and a special teams player. But I think that if I were to make cuts right now based off of pure running back capability and, what we know now, which is not very much, I would probably keep McBride over Kenny.
The thing that is making me lean toward Kenny on this one is of all of the running backs, even just looking at Dwayne McBride's college tape where it's different, and we'll see if that still holds in the preseason, Kenny's eyes are slow. When he's like at the mesh point, he has the ball, he's still on his first gap. You watch Madison, you watch Chandler, you watch Dwayne McBride in college. They're all several gaps through their zone reads by that point, and Kenny tends to lock in. And sometimes he'll be 2-3 steps after the mesh point when he actually makes a decision, makes a move. So there's a slowness to it. And at the running back position, things develop so lightning quick that's kind of unacceptable. And I think that is the primary reason that he didn't get more run. I mean, that was a question every week we all got, right? Why isn't Kenny Long getting more run? I think that is the answer to it. So I want to see that change before I believe in him a little bit more at running back. But I think he's going to be primarily a special teamer. I mean, yeah, I could just say, hey, rookie proves something again, although I'm realizing that's going to make my answers really boring. So I think I'm going to move off that.
I feel like we're not making enough of the fact that in the last 2 seasons, Alexander Mattison was almost a full yard per carry worse than Dalvin Cook. Alexander Mattison, 3.7 yards per carry, over 208 attempts. That's not great, guys. So, like, what we're expecting of Alexander Mattison to be versus what he has been, that to me is a big red flag for Madison.
If that statistic occurred only in games where Madison started, I think that you'd have a little bit more of a compelling argument. But to me, yards per carry is not that interesting of a statistic, generally speaking. It can have some signal, like in the case where I just mentioned. But the problem, I think, is in games where Dalvin Cook is healthy, Madison very often plays a goal line role, and your yards per carry are just going to be lower in that situation. And so, his usage kind of helps dictate some of those other ancillary statistics. I think that there's a bunch of other statistics he's worse than Dalvin that are less sensitive to usage concerns. Things like, forced missed tackles per carry, yards after contact per attempt, stuff like that. They're a little bit less sensitive to that. So I'm not saying that they're identical or whatever. It's just, I don't think the difference is as dramatic as the full yard and yards per carry difference makes it have to seem. Sam, what do you have? It looks like you've got something.
Madison last year, negative 0.6 yards over expected per carry.
Yeah, I mean, Dalvin was like negative point.
He was negative 0.1.
Okay, yeah. Great. It's just
great running game all around.
Comparing to Dalvin is also a moot point. He indeed is not a Viking. So we're comparing him to Ty Chandler and Kenny Long.
Is as good as Dalvin either. Like, I know that's not being claimed here. It's more about cost.
You're using rushing yards over expected per carry by Next Gen Stats, I assume. PFF also has a version of it based off of PFF run blocking grades. And all of the other kind of contextual factors. And Madison and Cook were nearly identical, near the bottom, but nearly identical in the PFF version. But yeah, no, I get what Sam's saying. Like, even though Dalvin Cook's not on the roster, the reason that you would bring this up is because it might underplay the talent problem that we might have at running back in a really significant way, to the point where Madison might not, be given the complete consideration as a starter or the strongest link. Like Ty Chandler, for example, might have, enough every down upside, which I think a lot of us just kind of think of Ty Chandler as just like this like receiving back, and that's kind of a good usage role for him. But he's like 6 feet tall, 215 pounds. I mean, it's just the way that a lot of people talk about him. It makes it seem like, hey, he's just gonna be another receiving back. He's just a bigger Kenny.
Yeah, because he was like, his college thing was like as a third down receiving, like that was when he had his best moments and a lot of good moments in like pass protection. But yeah, no, he can.
Right, and that's how the Vikings kind of used him in camp and stuff like that. So I get it, but like he's like a 215-pound back, so he could become an every down back. And I get where Sam is going, is that Madison, when he's got the capability to take over an offense, is one of the worst backs in the NFL, and so he might qualify as the weakest link. But I don't, because the yards per carry thing for Madison is super noisy.
I'm done ripping Madison though, because apparently he is like an awesome cornhole player and actually was like in a tournament over the weekend and won.
Yeah, it was. Tyler Fornes wrote a whole thing about it. I have a question for you, Sam.
Yeah.
By the end of the season, who is RB1? Like, who gets assuming everyone stays healthy, who gets the lion's share of snaps in like December? Like, who is the starter by then? Has one of these guys broken out and overtaken him?
I think Chandler has the best chance.
I agree. Chandler has the best chance. I wouldn't be shocked. I like that Chandler.
Yeah. How hype would Vikings Twitter be if it was Debo?
There was a really interesting
trade deadline, baby. Hey, Kevin O'Connell, Shanahan pilled. Let's go to the bit.
Dwayne McBride's nickname is Debo.
No
way. It's not D-Mac.
No, it's Debo.
It's Debo. Yeah. No, I'm thinking Debo Samuel, and I'm standing by it.
I mean, that would also be very funny. I doubt he would agree to a trade in a world where he's the running back.
What if it was Dwayne Bowe?
That would be a very strange set of circumstances.
Yeah,
I'd be super hype if it was McBride. That'd be super cool.
Yeah.
McBride, in the 3 practices I've seen, is struggling to keep up in the drills. Like, he can't do like the high knees in the ropes, and he's confused about which way to turn. I think he just doesn't know how to do the drills.
You know who else had this problem? Derrick Henry. Do you remember the videos of his
and what a bust he became?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm just saying. Those videos that came out his rookie year, right before training camp, of him doing all the drills and like mini camp and OTAs that were just like abysmal. I mean, they were just awful. Like, he had difficulty turning. He didn't know where to go. He had trouble with like high knees, and like I think as a running back coach just was like really mad that everyone was making fun of him, and went on Twitter and was like, "Hey man, he didn't have to do any of this at Alabama. He just ran the ball." And everyone was like, "Is that enough? I don't like that. Doesn't feel."
And Dwayne McBride went to a school in Alabama.
Alabama, yeah,
that makes sense.
It's the same thing, really.
Yeah. I'm not going to make you guys choose between Johnny Munt or Nick Muse, which MU ... tight end is the weakest. I don't think we need to do that. Let's do offensive line. O-line, weakest link.
You're really trying to avoid being mean-spirited in what is functionally a very mean-spirited game. Let's stick with the starters along the offensive line in the spirit of Sam's non-mean-spirited mean-spiritedness. I'm going to go with Ed Ingram. I'm a huge Garrett Bradbury hater. Everyone knows that I have a lot of problems with him. He did play a lot better last year than he has in previous years. I still think the PFF grade substantially overrates his level of play. But Ingram, there's not much else to say. He's just abysmal.
Yeah. Yeah, Ingram was clearly the worst one throughout the season last year. It feels like that's the status quo. I did a whole thing where, this is like where I see that he got better as the year went on, and if that progresses, he might be able to overturn this, but that's a lot of maybes and ifs.
Yeah, it is Ingram, but I also think there's a world where we do see kind of a sophomore medium leap from Ingram, and Bradbury regresses back to who he was for years 1, 2, and 3. And last year was maybe an anomaly for him. I think that
If you wanted to get really spicy, you could say it's Brian O'Neill because he's not available, but that would be like really mean.
We think he starts on the preseason pup.
That's the thing. I have no idea. I mean, they seem really optimistic.
Yeah, I just feel like both for being careful and for cheating and adding another player onto the roster that you can evaluate, it would make sense to start him on preseason pup.
Aren't they sitting on a roster spot as well? Because when they got rid of Cook,
89?
well, 90, because they have a freebie. I haven't done
91, including the freebie.
Yeah, I haven't done nearly my Junior Aho research yet. I haven't watched him closely enough. I'm kind of frustrated at myself.
You'll find that French football tape.
Yeah. Defensive weak links after I tell folks about FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook partner of Locked On and a partner of Major League Baseball. You can bet the baseball lines at FanDuel. Twins are underdogs in Atlanta tonight. Atlanta is minus 190 on the money line. You can find that line, the run lines, and so much more at FanDuel. Every line, every league, every game, it's all there. Very easy to use. Great promotions all the time, including the no sweat first bet. New customers get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if their first bet doesn't win. Head to FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today. FanDuel.com/lockedon. No sweat first bet. Bet Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission.
Ooh, used with permission.
Yeah, fine print right there. Defensive line. Let's say we do not include the outside linebackers. So down linemen.
They are sitting on a roster spot, by the way. You're right.
Yeah.
All right.
Marcus Peters.
So down linemen, that includes the edge rushers, and we'll stick to the starters, you think?
I was thinking not edge rushers. Let's leave that for linebackers.
Oh, okay, sure.
Because then you're just like choosing between Hicks and Asamoah.
Okay. So if we're sticking to starters and we assume that Dean Lowry and Harrison Phillips are definitely starting. So what Kairos Tonga is the third one then? I don't know.
I mean, I'm willing to open this one up to guys that you think will be in the rotation.
Yeah, well,
I think if there's two guys that are starters and one that we're not sure is a starter, it's that guy.
It's like the John Mulaney joke. There's two words.
That's the worst one. Yeah.
Yeah. But what? So in the rotation is probably Jaquelin Roy and Jonathan Bullard and kwesi-adofo-mensah, or probably we'll include that group as part of the. Because I just don't have Ross Blacklock making the roster this year. Sorry.
Yeah.
I would probably. I mean, Adofo-Mensah showed like some pretty interesting stuff near the end of the year. Bullard wasn't on the team for like a short period of time, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
He was hurt.
Yeah. I just did not love the Jaquelin Roy draft pick. I'm just going to go with that one.
I'm really torn. I kind of want to just go with like, it's either Tonga or Lowry for me as guys who will be like disappointing compared to their roles, especially because they're both particularly inconsistent.
You mean like
Kairos
from
Tonga
year to year?
No, game to game. Because Kairos Tonga showed some interesting stuff, but then like from a play to play perspective, like there were times where he would just get like washed like crazy. And Dean Lowry had like that one crazy streak in 2021 and then like disappeared. Like, so who is that going to be? Based on an innate Packers hate that is just kind of in my soul, I'll go with Dean Lowry.
I too was going to go with Dean. Yeah. Kwesi likes to buy the dip. Sometimes he gets paid off like za'darius, and sometimes they're just going to keep dipping. And I feel like he's gotten a little lucky on a couple of these bounce backs. Patrick Peterson, perhaps another example. I think that Lowry could maybe not be as huge a part of this rotation as we think. So I'm going to go with Lowry. I love Tonga a lot. I really do. So I'm going to go Lowry.
This makes me think of Dayton Jones, and I think it's just the Packer thing, but also like defensive linemen.
I was like, when you said it's the Packer hate, and I'm like, are you traumatized by like Dayton Jones? Is that it?
No. I just want to imply that anybody who is or was on the Packers is bad.
Right, but it's just before you got into that, it made me think that you were upset about previous Packers washouts. And so that's why I was thinking Datone Jones. Or going all the way back, what was his name? Emmanuel Bishop or something like that?
Desmond
Bishop. Yeah, Desmond Bishop.
Yeah.
Vikings are still, I think, well over 500 in landing like impact Packers. But there have been a couple of good examples.
Za'Darius Smith, some guy named Brett Favre. I would argue that
Charles Johnson.
Charles Johnson. I would honestly argue, I mean, everyone knows that I've been a Greg Jennings truther for like the longest time. I would argue that he actually played pretty well with the Vikings.
With the quarterbacks that he was given, yeah.
But it didn't, he did, for whatever reason, didn't have a chemistry with Christian Ponder, so he had to go.
Terrible teams, terrible quarterbacks. We hate Greg Jennings. Greg Jennings was great. I like dealing with him actually. So the where are we at? Linebackers. This includes edge.
I mean,
can I say DJ Wanham?
Yeah. Heck yeah.
If he's included in the calculation, yeah. I mean,
yeah, is he included in this? Because it feels to me like
that's an edge.
That's like if in the world where Danielle Hunter doesn't get traded, I honestly could see DJ Wanham like being a surprise cut.
Yeah,
where
surprise
that
wouldn't be a surprise to me.
It wouldn't. Okay, well, yeah. Well, then there you go. But then also, if
like
Danielle
right,
Hunter does
let me
get
be
traded,
clear. Right now, I do project him to make the roster. If I were to construct a 53, he's very likely to be on the 53. It's just if he's cut, it would not shock me in the slightest.
So take that guy, trade Danielle Hunter, and he is currently penciled in to start. This is like a disaster waiting to happen. This is a problem.
Yeah, it's a concern. Like if you end up with like if for example, you know, if Kwesi's buying the dip, right? If the dip continues with Marcus Davenport and DJ Wanham is the other starter, it's you get like 3 sacks right between the two of them.
So we are approaching post Yannick Ngakoue 2020 territory.
Yeah, right. Is Ifedi available?
for the career of DJ Wanham, he has a pressure less than 1 in every 12 pass rush snaps versus a good edge rusher like Micah Parsons is 1 in 5.
But also remember that DJ Wanham excels at getting unblocked sacks. So you have to consider that.
It helps to play the Bears twice a year. That's an advantage that he gets.
Justin Fields will run into his arms.
Yeah.
Honestly, they should just roster him for those 2 games of the year, right?
Perfect.
Like practice squad call up.
Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, that's fantastic. I love that idea. So is that the universal answer, DJ Wanham? I think.
Yeah, I mean, if he's eligible, right? If we're going to count him as a likely 53,
then call him a linebacker. Yeah.
If we are just doing interior, I would say Jordan Hicks.
Yeah, I mean, there's no likely 53 behind the starting 2. It's just like you could see any of those guys making it as a backup. You could see Troy Dyer, Troy Reeder getting cut, right?
If one of those 2 goes down, who plays?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, is Kwanku?
Is Ivan Pace?
Right. Yeah, I mean, they're going to need to blitz, right? We just talked about it. So.
Troy Reeder's getting a lot of
fascinating
run
battle
this spring, for what it's worth.
But yeah, I would say probably Jordan Hicks. Otherwise, I'll go with Troy Dye if we're projecting out of 53.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not a very inspiring position. How about cornerback?
Do I have to pick just one?
Yeah. Is it weird to pick Andrew Booth?
That's my guy. I'd go Booth.
I don't love Mekhi Blackman, so I'm going to go with that one.
It's between those 2 for me too. I think I'm going to go with Andrew Booth. I think all these corners will get in at some point. Just at some point, like guys will get injured, guys will rotate.
Mm-hmm.
Brian you think this cornerback group's going to get injured? This famously durable set of guys?
You think?
Yeah, these 6'2", 210-pound behemoths that populate the cornerback group. You think they're going to get injured?
The most durable of which is the one I'm also most concerned about his play on the field. I just did a podcast about this group on Locked On Vikings, and about like right now, based on what we saw last year, Caleb Evans is like a mile better than Andrew. Like there's so much improvement that we need to see from Andrew Booth just in being like assignment sound.
I feel so
let alone
vindicated
footwork
on this
stuff.
one.
So it's a mess. And I mean, look, second year leap, it could happen. Maybe he comes in, he's a totally better guy, but he has to be a very different corner than the one we've seen so far for him to be
When did you watch Caleb and Andrew in the offseason?
Yesterday.
Okay, so because I remember saying like near the end of the season or at the beginning of the offseason that I thought Caleb played a lot better than Andrew Booth, and it's kind of nice to see a second pair of eyes.
I think the eye test reveals that as well. The numbers didn't bear out Braun that way, right? Like the numbers, if you look at the analytics in the limited snaps, actually slightly favored Booth. But
there's going to be a huge sample size problem with that. I think Booth
it was like 100 to 140. It wasn't that.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that there's always a sample size issue with coverage play, and it gets magnified, in the snap counts that they had. So like 100 pass attempts for a quarterback is pretty bad. It's not great, but for a cornerback, it is just almost nothing. Like it's the sample size that you need to evaluate cornerback play is just substantially larger than most other positions.
I'll give Booth this, and it is meant to sound exactly as passive-aggressive as it sounds. He's a better cover 2 corner.
Jesus.
I mean, wall off a guy better from in squat. He's more physical. But
there's a fan base that still remembers what Zimmer said about cover 2 quarters, man. That's rough.
So. Booth had a great week. Didn't he? Braun, were you there? Were you watching Booth for like that 1 week at camp last year? Where he would
like make a great play and then he'd get flagged on the next one?
Yeah.
I don't know if I call that a great week. That he had certainly...
He was splashy.
Yeah, a splashy week. A very easy week to pay attention to.
Yeah, that was awesome.
If you steal the early headlines at camp, you can ride those the whole time. Like if you have the fast start, even if you suck for 3 weeks, you're still going to be like, oh, yeah, this guy started really fast. Yeah, I also think it's Booth. And it's safety. I'd go Scene.
Yeah.
I think Lewis Scene of the 4. I mean, Jay Ward probably, actually, but I think Scene is a little concerning.
I don't know if I would even count Jay Ward as a safety, but I guess he's listed as one, so whatever.
Let's count him as a safety for now. I would say it's him. But I think that putting Lewis Scene in that list makes sense. I mean, he did not win the camp competition to start at the beginning of last year. Obviously, he got hurt after that. He is not winning the camp competition at the moment, as far as we can tell. Seems like Metellus is getting more run with the first team, although I would be cautious about that just because Metellus is doing that as part of like a series of sub packages, right? And so it's not
like how directly are they in competition with each other?
Right, exactly.
Question that I don't know would have the answer to.
Yeah. So, but it is another super soft data point that you can kind of nudge towards to say that maybe there are some concerns about this first round pick not playing like a first round pick. So I get it. And I did like the Jay Ward pick a little bit. I think against consensus it wasn't wonderful. So I'm going to say that it is probably likely that a 4th round pick at safety that is meant to play kind of like as a Swiss Army knife or whatever you want to call it, is probably a weaker link than the first round pick who is failing to meet expectations. Probably, I don't know.
Jay Ward is just so small. He's got to add some weight in a big way.
And he likes to hit. Isn't his whole thing that he's a hammer?
Isn't that the whole thing too?
Surely this won't lead to a durability.
There was an unfortunate. So yeah, it's the GM and the coach, brought us together and showed us some highlights of their draft picks and told us about them a little bit. And one of their like top highlights of Jay Ward, it was a great play where he kind of read the quarterback's eyes, stepped in front of a throw, picked it off, but then at the end of the play he got hurt. Like he took a hit and got hurt, and they quick cut off the video. But it was like, oh man, like. That's the shining example of Jay Ward, who I think is just like he plays. His heart is big, but his frame is not. That is
the spirit is willing.
That is the problem.
Remember when Teddy had to go through some medical rechecks and his heart was like literally too large, and everyone's like, "Yeah, that's a serious medical concern." And Teddy was like, "Yeah, I guess my heart's too big, huh?" And everyone's like, no, that's a problem. He's like, I love the game too much. Like, no, we're concerned.
So to Lewis Seen, Andrew Booth, DJ Wanham, and others, you're all the weakest links. Goodbye. And after this, we'll find out
make
where
our
the
cut for the
Vikings
30-man roster.
Every weak link is gone. They get relegated to the USFL.
To the minor leagues.
Skill players ranked after. I remind folks that we're partnered with SiriusXM. You can find Locked On Sports Minnesota on the SXM app. Just search Locked On Sports Minnesota. Find our shows, The Ron Johnson Show, Minnesota Football Party, Minnesota Sports Rankum. You can also find the hometown broadcasts like the Twins. They play the Braves tonight at 6:20. Just search Twins on the SXM app. Love Bill Barnwell. He makes a lot of compelling lists, but also he writes well. Like he does the aggregation thing or the SEO thing where, you get the list and you get to say, man, where do we rank? This is fun. But then he writes really interesting stuff like within those rankings. So it's really the best of every world. Barnwell ranked all skill players for the 32 NFL teams. Criteria being, this is only about on-field performance for 2023. So contracts not really included. Injury history and suspensions do matter. The focus is on elite players and a team's top 5 contributors. Efficiency matters. And that's it. So knowing all of that criteria, where do you think the Vikings rank?
So on skill positions specifically?
Skill positions. Tight end, running back, wide receiver.
So if efficiency matters, I don't think he cares that much about running back. It's just who Bill Barnwell is, right? So not having Dalvin will hurt, but not substantially. He's probably going to take the average performance of a first-round receiver. He probably doesn't think too highly of KJ Osborne. I'm going to guess 10th.
I was going to guess 9th for a lot of the same reasons. I don't think anybody who doesn't cover the Vikings has like a great sense for who KJ Osborne is.
Right, exactly.
And I'm not sure the way that the national world has covered the Vikings. I don't know if any of them know that we drafted Jordan Addison. They don't. It's Justin Jefferson and guys that shouldn't make a team. Like there's no discourse at all about Justin Jefferson and the compliment and how he compares to Thielen and all that. It's
right. Well, I think some of it is just there was not a ton of pre-draft discussion about Jordan Addison like there was with Jackson Smith and Jibba. Right? Like if they had drafted him instead, I think a lot of people would be talking about him as an ad. I think the same thing happened when Justin Jefferson was drafted by the Vikings. A lot of people were talking about the big 3, right? And a little bit about Jalen Reagor, right? Because he was a surprise. But no one talked about Justin Jefferson.
And the deal with that was everybody was like, wait, I thought Thielen was your slot. This doesn't make any sense. And the whole offseason was literally people being unable to answer that question, which was very funny in hindsight. And it was funny at the time too.
Yeah.
So I'll go with 9th because ultimately Justin Jefferson carries you quite a bit. And I think people generally like TJ Hawkinson, especially if they play fantasy. But I think that underrates the Vikings skill group.
All right. Well, Bill Barnwell exceeded your expectations, both of you, ranked them 6th. And largely for the reason, Luke Braun, that you were dubious that he would consider Jordan Addison. Quote, Vikings also upgraded their biggest weakness this offseason by swapping out Adam Thielen for first-round pick Jordan Addison. Shots fired at Thielen. Biggest weakness seems, maybe he's only talking about position players, seem like a stretch. Even allowing for the wide range of outcomes we see from first-round picks in their debut seasons, Thielen had grown long in the tooth. He ranked 83rd among 87 wideouts in yards per route run, just one spot ahead of teammate KJ Osborne. Kirk Cousins' QBR was nearly 20 points better with Thielen off the field in 2022. Addison should make an immediate impact across from Jefferson. He docks them from the top 5 because of their lack of running back play. So with Dalvin,
there's a little bad faith in there. We'll ignore that.
Yeah, that's the Barnwell knows better than to use a stat like that. But okay.
Well,
it sounds like he liked him as a top 5 if they had a better running back core.
I'm just happy there's a take. Whether your take is if your take is, hey, Adam Thielen He had gotten old. They needed to move on, and they spent a first round pick to do it. Good for you. And it's like that's a strong take. Or even if it's the opposite, hey, they shouldn't have let go of Adam Thielen. Now they got this tiny little wiry dude that's not going to be like. Have a take on it. I've seen a lot of people do this thing and be like, it's Jefferson, and we don't even really know who else is there. It's like, man, this is a first round pick, dog. Pay attention.
So I just want to like make it clear why I don't love that on-off statistic with Adam Thielen, just to kind of because I just dismissed it. It's because that is a personnel and therefore contextual. You might as well just say Kirk Cousins is really great in play action, because what happens is that occurs in one receiver sets with heavy personnel where you're likely to run the ball, and then you roll out and you throw in play action, right? Adam Thielen is going to be on the field more often on standard dropbacks. And so that is probably a scheme statistic more than a personnel statistic. So that's why I wanted to just, I realized that like I didn't let people know why I hated that stat.
Yeah, super fair. He also wasn't off the field that much, super small sample size. Family Feud style, 3 strikes. Try to guess the top 5 skill position groups.
So Cincinnati Bengals, Miami
Correct.
Dolphins.
Hold on.
No,
Hold on.
definitely not.
Why would you say the Chiefs? What the fuck?
Hold on.
Patrick Mahomes is in my head. Ignore me.
I will never.
All right, you guys need to agree. So we're going Bengals.
Okay.
That was a yes. What is
Okay,
the next
and then
guess?
the Dolphins.
Dolphins for sure, yeah.
The Dolphins, no.
Wow.
What? Okay,
Strike
so
one.
Buzz.
I'm struggling to think of other teams. Hang on.
So he likes first round picks. What about Seattle?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Seattle is number 4. Cincinnati was number 2.
Okay.
1, 3, and 5.
Chargers?
Yes.
Yeah, good one. We're just
Chargers
listing
are
first
numbers.
round picks.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well. But they also had like Keenan Allen and Mike
Yeah,
Williams.
right.
to
No,
start
it
with.
makes
It's
sense.
like, okay,
Makes
yeah, they
sense,
would like that.
1 and 3.
Yeah.
1 and 3.
How are we not
Chargers
getting
are
number
5.
1? Who's the number 1 skill position group in the NFL?
I feel like I'm going to hear Enfield.
Oh, is the Eagles? Is it? It's got to be the Eagles.
Oh, Eagles.
Eagles are number 3.
Okay.
Who's number 1?
It's going to be totally off the wall.
It'd be really funny if it did turn out to be the Chiefs and Barnwell was just like, clearly the skill position group doesn't matter here. So no,
Kadarius Toney breakout year.
you're right, yeah.
Honestly, who's to say?
You could potentially make an argument for the 49ers, right?
Oh, yeah.
What about
You could make an argument. Bill Barnwell did make an argument
Yeah,
for the 49ers.
49ers,
They
okay.
are your
number 1? Number 1
Number
for the Bengals?
1. Maybe the best tight
Kittle,
end.
CMC, Debo?
Maybe the best running
get it.
back. Debo and Ayuk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
Use check.
I mean,
Maybe the
that
best
is a
fullback.
wonderful group to work with. I would take the Bengals group over that.
Yeah, fair enough. Doesn't matter. Bill Barnwell is the
Starting tight end Irv Smith in
authority.
Cincinnati, right?
Yes,
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that.
TE1. Let me see if Barnwell addressed that.
I'll still
Going
take
from
one.
Hayden
He's-
Hurst to Irv Smith at tight end is a downgrade.
Yes. Is he addressing Joe Mixon's availability concerns?
Last season also looked like a step backward for Joe Mixon, who averaged 3.9 yards per carry, which is the worst full season mark of his career. Blah, 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 blah. There are questions about whether Mixon will be a cap casualty before the season.
There you go.
Well, that's what you meant by
I thought he took a restructure. No?
He's off-field concerns.
Well, that too. Yes. Contractually.
it. What kind of availability are we talking
Speaking of
I was
off-field
being
concerns,
extremely broad about that.
what a convenient segue. Oli Udoh came out over the weekend. Kind of drove recklessly in the month of May.
Kind of.
3 reckless driving citations in 1 month.
And another 2 for speeding.
Wait, so 5 total? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sure it was 3 incidents, and he got charged for both reckless driving and speeding at the same time. But there are 5 citations.
Got it.
3 of which are reckless driving, 2 of which are speeding.
And, you can toss in the misdemeanor charges that were later dropped last year in a Miami nightclub. Not a great stretch here for Oli Udoh with his new coaching staff. Any impact, any ramification on Oli Udoh for these mishaps?
Probably not unless it turns into a player conduct thing that affects his availability.
Yeah, I think the Vikings are primarily going to try to determine whether or not, he's going to be available for them. And I don't think that this really impacts his availability too much.
I mean, I don't think driving violations do it.
No.
That's as stupid as they are. It's like, don't get hurt, you idiot. But
yeah, right. I don't see a place on the roster for him anyway.
That's the deal, right?
Yeah, it's
like they're not going to keep 5 tackles again.
Right, exactly. So I think that the fact that he seems like, I don't know, Sam, has he been taking guard snaps or tackle snaps in minicamp?
Tackle snaps, and he has occasionally been the one with Brian O'Neill out at right tackle.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. I think that probably... Sorry, Luke, you're surprised by this?
No, I just read. So that's like a true competition then for who gets the day one start if Brian O'Neill isn't available. That's like more interesting than I ever thought about it.
Yeah, but I think Blake Brandle's going to win it. Like, I don't think that's really a...
Blake Brandle has been working at guard and tackle. They're trying to cross-train him, and he has not gotten in on that competition. It's been Federian Lowe and...
Okay, so it's a fake
Lowe and Udoh. Okay,
it's a fake competition then.
Well, that might be a who do we cut competition. And
yeah, exactly.
With the ones to see how you
So I wonder if none of these off-field things had happened for Oli Udoh, whether it was driving or a nightclub thing, I don't think it would affect. Like, I think he would have gotten cut in the future if he gets cut. I think he would have gotten cut either way. I don't think that those will play a role. So, there's not a ton of interior alignment on the roster, and I think that's probably one reason they're cross-training Blake Brandle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. And for reference, the nightclub incident did not bring about any discipline from the team. They just kind of let the things proceed. He didn't miss any time for that, so I would imagine they'll handle this incident similarly. So if it were a tie between Udoh and another guy, maybe it's a tiebreaker against him, but probably nothing that's going to linger too far.
Like, there's kind of 2 parts to this. There's like how does this affect you via the player conduct policy and suspension and availability? This very like kind of cold calculated. How does this impact your actual value to the team and what games? And then there's like the did you do something immoral question of it, which do we need? Which is in the NFL, do we need to do something for PR? And I don't think for moving like reckless driving violations, you need to do anything to like save face PR wise. It's going to be, did you get suspended for reckless driving, which I can't imagine, but I don't know. It feels like kind of pulling ping pong balls out of a big bowl sometimes. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's a party foul to drive 97 in a 55. Let's see if we have any other party fouls this week.
It's time to tell you who spilled their proverbial drink on the sofa. Get ready for this week's party foul.
Biggest faux pas of the week. We'll go around the horn, and I'll start. I think anybody who gets caught up in the debate of when US Bank Stadium was louder, the Taylor Swift concert or the Minneapolis Miracle or any Vikings game.
Collar did this on purpose. I'm just
anyone who engages, and this isn't a shot at Collar. I've seen both sides. He was kind of pro Swift. I've seen other Vikings Twitter guys very, in favor of the Vikings. If you're on either side, I think that it's a dumb debate because this is a
hobbies. Please,
this is such a recency. Anything. It's the most recency bias argument ever to say that arena was the loudest it's ever been after you've just experienced it. It's the most recency bias argument. It has absolutely no bearing or weight on anything. It's impossible to solve. So why are we fighting about it?
Great point, Sam. The answer is obviously a Taylor Swift concert. I can't even believe this is a discussion.
It's an event designed to be loud.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look.
The whole point of it.
So my party foul is on Tyler Forness, who is about to record his 100th episode of his podcast. You could have gotten out of the content game way sooner than that, man. The fact that you've kept going is just ridiculous. I cannot believe you. Party foul on you for continuing to be a Vikings content creator.
How many articles do you think he's written? He just also celebrated a milestone here.
He just published one, I think, for my site, right? Or my sister site, College Football Network. But I have no idea. What's his milestone on writing?
I believe it was the number was 2,500.
Huge party foul. Oh my God.
He's
Unhealthy.
beyond saving. It's over.
Yeah.
Congrats, Tyler.
Congrats, Tyler. You're doomed. My party foul goes just generally to the aggregator news accounts like NFL Rooms or Rookie Watch or whatever that will frequently just kind of make crap up and get like thousands of engagements. These are, I think, monetizable accounts. I think they could also do like ads. Like this is something that somebody can actually profit off of because people are too stupid to realize that these are lying to you. They are just making stuff up and lying
so
to
especially
you.
like Rookie Watch will just 100 just a lie, just 100% like just like make up a story with like dialogue in it, just a crazy, just absolute lies.
Yeah, just not even verified,
not sourced. Yeah. So I'll say this about like Dove Kleiman and ML football and whatever. They bother me. They mischaracterize things sometimes. They overemphasize unimportant details for sensationalism, but they don't lie.
In particular, lies. I'm looking at NFL Rooms right now, who yesterday posted a tweet that said Jordan Addison has impressed coaches and teammates and is trending to start the season, which just can't be true. He only participated in rookie minicamp. That literally can't be the case. We haven't. He has been on the sideline. How in the world can you, like what? There was a quote from O'Connell after minicamp, like, "Oh, he's picking up the playbook, great." But like, if that's the best faith case I can make is that you're making that reach, I am begging you to learn how to fish.
Yeah, I was blown away by that. And that people latched onto it.
Block these accounts. You don't need them. You will see the news everywhere else.
Yeah. And make sure you're being responsible. Make sure you look for the blue check mark. Oh. Right.
Make sure you look for the lack of blue check mark.
He's Luke Braun. He's the Locked On Vikings host at Luke Braun NFL. Arif Hasan, Pro Football Network at Arif Hasan NFL. Tomorrow, Luke Inman rejoins the fold. We'll talk more Vikings football. I'm Sam Ekstrom at Sam Ekstrom. Leave a comment down below. Subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota. We'd appreciate that. And thank you so much for watching and listening today on the Minnesota Football Party.